Welcome to Reimagined Energy, the podcast where we rethink the way power flows through our lives and communities. Every week, we talk to changemakers, experts, and everyday people creating bold solutions for a cleaner, fairer energy future. This week, we're joined by Chris Benjamin from the Ecology Action Centre to dig into what a just energy transition really looks like for Nova Scotia and why community voices matter more now than ever. Let's get into it. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
It's really great to have you here because we have a lot of things to talk about today. But, for those of the listeners and viewers who aren't aware, tell us about the Ecology Action Centre and how you guys all came about.
Sure. We're an organization that's been around for over 50 years now in Nova Scotia, and we're a member-based organization. We have over 5,000 members. And we're basically, we're a lot of things: a research organization, a community-based organization, an advocate, a watchdog. And basically, we focus on all aspects of Nova Scotia's environment, protecting and preserving, and focusing as well on greenhouse gas reduction and the green transition, and protecting the beauty that is Nova Scotia, that Nova Scotians love and enjoy.
And it's definitely about community-based advocacy.
Very much. Yeah, that's our approach. We are an advocate for the environment, but also for communities. And we've learned over time it's really important. I mean, we can't just be an outsider deciding what a community should think about something. We try to work very closely with all kinds of different communities, whether it's a Mi'kmaq community or an African Nova Scotian community, or something not necessarily geographical, but a group of people who are committed to a certain thing, maybe protecting a certain wildland or opposing a mine or a garbage dump that's in a Black community that's environmentally racist, basically, and chosen for that reason. So we kind of get involved in all kinds of different communities, and try to be an ally to them and base our thinking on what they're saying and their understanding of environment.
Recently, you launched your Building Nova Scotia's Green Jobs Report. And I know it was recently launched and quite excited about it. I know it's going to really, create some awareness and turn some heads. Do you want to give us a little bit of a snapshot of what to expect? But also, Chris, I want us to put a link to the report if it's on your website so
Yes.
people can download it. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is available at ecologyaction.ca, so it's pretty easy to find there. What we did is we did a previous report in 2019 that asked the question: if Nova Scotia meets all of its greenhouse gas reduction goals by 2030, how many jobs will that create? And the number the consultants ended on was 15,000 jobs a year till 2030. So it's very significant. We wanted to look this time more at, okay, where are these jobs and what specifically are we talking about? And we wanted to look more specifically at energy efficiency in buildings, because we know this is an important part of our greenhouse gas emissions. They're about a third of our emissions are from buildings. We have a lot of old buildings and they need to be retrofitted, and we're facing a housing crisis right now. So a lot of new buildings need to be built, and we want those to the highest possible energy efficiency standard. So what effect will that have on jobs? And what we have is a lot of these are trades jobs, and we are facing significant labor shortages in coming years just due to retirement and baby boomers retiring. And we don't really have a good succession plan rolling out just yet. So it's both a problem, but we're seeing it also as a big opportunity. This is a province that worries a lot about jobs, and a lot of people feel the need to leave Nova Scotia to go work in the Alberta oil fields or wherever. We're saying if you grow this sector, if you focus and invest on building efficiency, there can be thousands or tens of thousands of jobs available for workers, Nova Scotian workers in Nova Scotia, as well as opportunities for a lot of newcomers to Nova Scotia.
Right.
And part of the thing we found was that there is part of the solution is actually better access and equity. It's a justice solution. So, for example, we see currently the trades are only about 4 or 5% women. In the 1970s, that number was about 4 or 5%. It hasn't really changed. So this is a market inefficiency, because there are a lot of women who I think would like to have this opportunity, but don't feel safe in these workplaces. And there's been a lot of reports of harassment, but also more practical just issues such as personal protective equipment that doesn't fit properly, and there's no availability of the right sizes, no access to proper gender washrooms. So, just addressing certain issues as well as working on the workplace culture, which is a big challenge, but there are organizations working on it. And we just need to ramp that up a lot and create better opportunities for women, also for people of color, for newcomers, for people with disabilities. There's a lot of communities that could really benefit from the opportunity if the workplaces make a specific effort to be accommodating, welcoming, and belonging for those organizations.
I read recently that 55, the average age is 55, male. They're, almost nearing retirement age. That seems to be the bulk of the trade market right now.
Yes, yeah, and that's something we kind of confirmed in our research. And we're not graduating new workers nearly fast enough. I mean, the replacement rate is under 10%. We just aren't graduating enough tradespeople right now. And, there was a recent report, not ours, but that showed, there are long waiting lists for Nova Scotia Community College and the trades. So we just need to ramp up a lot of efforts, and it's not easy. I mean, you're
It's
talking
not,
about
yeah.
investment though, and I think that's really the key, is to see it as an investment in jobs and not as a cost. And this is
Right.
something, going back to our first jobs report that we did, Green Jobs Report, is that we want to reframe this conversation and rethink this conversation a bit and stop seeing addressing climate issues as a cost. It is an investment. And it's not only in our very future and survival, but it's also in the kind of jobs and the kind of world we want to create. We think we can create a Nova Scotia that is both sustainable and has rewarding, interesting work available for Nova Scotians. A much better version than what we have now, where people are feeling the need to leave the province, despite the fact that they love it, that it's a beautiful place to live, that the quality of life is good here. If they just can't find the job they want, then they leave. So that can be addressed. There are solutions, and that's the kind of thing we're looking at in our report.
What does a just energy transition look like for Nova Scotia? I like that word, just. But what
Yeah.
does that look like?
I mean, it's important to realize, as we transition off fossil fuels, some jobs are going to disappear over time. I mean, you won't see as many. Already we have far less mining jobs in this province. We've seen the huge impact that has had on especially Cape Breton. And, there's still a lot of struggle there. I mean, there's also the fisheries, which is unrelated to this report, but it's still been a big issue. So there is a change in the kinds of work that will be available. So just is taking care of those workers who lose out, but also creating fair opportunities for everyone else. And this is the kind of thing I'm talking about is, I mean, if you look at the trades right now, there are not the percentage of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and the percentage of women working in the trades currently are much lower. They're not representative of the overall population of the province. So just means everyone has a chance. And you're not just replacing older white men as they retire with young white men. You're also making the opportunity equally available for women, people of color, Black, Indigenous, and people with disabilities, queer people, all kinds of different people. Any equity deserving people or communities have access and opportunity.
The Ecology Action Centre were big fans about the Coastal Protection Act.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, why, I guess, and big question why, and of course, but
Yeah.
yeah, talk a little bit further about that.
Fundamentally, it was bipartisan, and it was or tripartisan, and it was community based. It was based on extensive consultation, and that's the way public policy should be done.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a genuine effort to address a pressing issue. Climate change is happening. Our province has suffered from it in recent years. We've had wildfires like Nova Scotia has never experienced before. We had severe flooding in which lives were lost, massive property damage. The cost of emergency response was far in excess of what was budgeted in 2023. So we need a plan. We need provincial resources dedicated to that. The response recently, after the provincial government killed that plan, they said it's now provincial responsibilities, and we've got a website and an app. That's just not going to cut it. And municipalities, as we know, are always very cash strapped, especially smaller ones outside of Halifax. It's a real struggle for them just to stay afloat, just to keep operations going and keep the services they have, like snow removal service and public transit and things like that. So we need to be able to support them from a higher government level. And so that's why we're so heartbroken to see the Coastal Protection Act, its demise, although we hope at some point it will be resurrected. We have not given up hope on it. We continue to push for it. And we have great support from Nova Scotians. I mean, you see support the Coastal Protection Act signs on lawns everywhere. I went to a cousin's house on the South Shore last weekend, and there that was. And I did not tell them to do that. I didn't urge them. They had done that on their own. So I mean, I see it all over the province, everywhere I go.
What are some of the most exciting community-led or climate projects you've seen recently?
I think there's a couple I can think of. One is we work with churches and other faith groups, but especially the United Church, which has set a goal to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2030, and therefore has put their money to it and gives grants of up to $30,000 for their congregations. And we've worked with a number of them. We're the East Coast Support Center for that. And it is always inspiring because it's often tiny little congregations. They're also aging. Their numbers are sometimes dwindling, but they really revitalize their buildings as community centers by retrofitting, because they're often at a point they can't afford to keep the heat on. The oil furnaces are so expensive. So they get rid of those, replace them with heat pumps, properly insulate the thing, get a good energy audit of the building done, and address the issues in a smart way. And they involve their whole congregation, pastors. They often, there's some retired electrician or something like that who volunteers to help out. And it's incredible the way they rally, and we see communities revitalize. These become community centers, and they use them in new ways. They open them up to community groups, and they do karate lessons and other things in those buildings to keep them going and keep them strong. And just having reliable and affordable heat is a huge factor there. So those projects are super inspiring. And the other one is we've been working with EGCORN doing just door-to-door knocking on energy poverty. And EGCORN is a national tenants' rights and renters support organization. It's about affordable housing. And they've really taken on the issue of affordable energy because Nova Scotia has a very high rate of energy poverty at 43%. It's the highest in the country. But there are solutions. And what they're doing is rallying people and empowering them to make their own case for energy poverty solutions, which is things like on-bill discounts, as well as efficiency. So as well as having access to affordable programs. And there are some out there, but we believe they can be done a lot more systematically in Nova Scotia. And, anyone under a certain income, including renters, should have access to heat pumps, insulation, and just good building envelope and sealing around the windows and doors and things like that. So it's great to see the results of these door-to-door. People really get riled up and said, yes, of course I do deserve that, and I am willing to push for that and work for that change. So it's kind of a real people power thing.
Yeah, that's good to see. If you had the power to implement one major policy change tomorrow, what would that be, Chris?
There are many, but I will say we've been advocating a lot for what's called a universal service program. So sorry, it's a bit jargony, but what that is it's a look at energy poverty in a more systematic way. And it combines some of the relief programs that do exist and it beefs them up. So one is like an on bill discount of 50% for anyone who's under a certain income level. So that's probably the most costly part of it. And then that anyone who qualifies for that gets automatically tied into energy efficiency services. And so they get their home assessed and they get the opportunity to install heat pumps with full financial support, because we're talking low income households. So they can't afford to buy a heat pump, but one is provided for them and insulation is provided, and they get help from Efficiency Nova Scotia in doing that work. And so it ties into other things as well, such as if you are behind on your payments, the utility or the oil provider will commit to do matched payments. So they'll help you through it and they'll pay $1 for every dollar that you pay. And they'll create a payment plan. So it sort of combines all different elements, that some of which do exist, but ties them all together so that once you're in, you're fully supported. We believe that a program like that in Nova Scotia would cost $30 million at first. It would go down over time as people got into the efficiency, and it would lift almost 28,000 Nova Scotia households out of energy poverty.
That sounds like a really great major policy change. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What can people do to get involved in the Ecology Action Centre? How can we get involved with your work and support your mission?
Number one is become a member.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's we have different kinds of membership plans, but there's an annual one. It's not very expensive. You can also do a monthly for. I think I'm also a member, and it's $10 a month. I do, so which is I think higher than the minimum, but sign up for our e-news, which is regular email blast that kind of updates on all our campaigns and actions and what we're up to. So it's lots of ways to get involved. And you can also sign up for our volunteer list, which goes out monthly with volunteer opportunities. Some of them are long-term, some of them are one-offs, just come out and help out at an event we're doing. But volunteering is obviously a great way to help. And watch for those campaigns. A lot of times it's about our advocacy work, about awareness, about letting people know about issues, and contacting your MLA or organizing an event in your neighborhood. Sometimes it's just organizing a film screening of an environmental documentary. It can be all kinds of things. So yeah, lots of ways to get involved. Visit ecologyactioncentre.ca to sign up.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me today, and wishing you and your organization all the best in the future. You're doing important work, and really great to see that you're sticking up for the people as well as the environment.
Thank you so much for having me, and I love this show. It's so great to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thanks for listening to Reimagined Energy. If this episode sparked a new idea or raised a question, share it with a friend or drop us a line at podcast@reimaginedenergy.com. Want to support the work you heard about today? Join or donate to the Ecology Action Centre or call your MLA. It all adds up. Catch you next week as we keep exploring how energy can work better for everyone. I'm your host, Maria McGowan. Have a great day.